Imagine you are already running before the fortress even appears. Your breath rips at the back of your throat. Your boots slap wet stone, mountain meltwater spilling into the path like a warning you cannot read fast enough. You feel the sealed dispatch thumping against your ribs, hidden under your tunic, bound tight with string so it does not betray you with sound. You taste iron, blood from split lips, or fear, or both. Somewhere behind, hoofbeats climb the switchback. Seljuk colors. Seljuk eyes. Seljuk questions. You reach the last bend and Alamut rises in front of you like a blade held upright. It is not just walls. It is a decision carved into rock. You see narrow windows that look like slits in a mask. You see the gate like a mouth that can close without mercy. You feel the mountain itself pressing down, forcing every thought into a single line: enter or die outside. A shepherd grabs your sleeve. He does not carry steel. He does not need to. His fingers clamp like a trap. His breath smells of sour milk and urgency. He whispers without looking at you, as if the stones listen. The fortress changes hands without a battle. The same uniforms stand the same posts. The same salutes rise at the same hours. But the eyes change. Therefore, the mountain changes. Therefore, the story changes. Your mind tries to catalog what that means: rebellion, treason, madness, but the hoofbeats behind grow louder and the questions shrink into one: who sees you where? If the rider behind watches you enter Alamut, the vizier in far Isfahan assumes defection. But if you turn back, the watchers on the walls assume reporting, therefore erasure. You feel the world narrowing as if a noose tightens by itself. The path steepens. You cannot outpace a horse on stone. Therefore you leave the horse. You slap its flank and send it stumbling into scrub as a decoy, and you sprint on foot. You feel your calves tear with each step. You press the dispatch to your chest with one hand, the other hand scraping rock for balance. You see the gate begin to move, wood and iron sliding inward. Closing. Not dramatic. Practical. Like a clerk ending an account. You lunge into the shadow of the arch just as the gap narrows. Your shoulder hits rough timber. Splinters bite skin. A guard's hand catches your sleeve, firm, not violent. You expect a shout. You expect the crack of a spear, but you hear only breathing and the dull groan of the gate sealing behind you. Outside, hoofbeats stop. Inside, silence begins. You stand in the throat of Alamut. You see stone corridors that turn too quickly for comfort. You see men in familiar Seljuk-style gear, belts, boots, the right knots, the right posture. But the way they look at you is wrong. Not hungry, not confused. Prepared. Like a trap that already knows the weight of the animal it catches. You feel sweat cooling on your back, turning into cold needles under your tunic. No one drags you away. That is the first shock. The first trial is not pain. It is calm. A clerk approaches with a cup of water. Plain clay. No ornament. He offers it with two hands, respectful, almost gentle. He asks your name as if recording grain shipments. You see ink stains on his fingers. You smell the water, clean, cold, safe. You want it. You need it. But you feel the trap hiding inside kindness. Every kindness asks a question. Will you brag about the dispatch to make them fear you? Will you threaten them with the vizier's wrath? Will you plead for your life? Will you drink too greedily and show weakness? You hold the cup. Your fingers shake. You sip slowly, letting the water touch cracked lips without exposing desperation. You force your face into emptiness. The clerk watches. He smiles like a man reading a page already memorized. You move deeper. A guide gestures with an open palm, not a shove, an invitation. You follow because there is no other direction. You count steps without moving your lips. 17, turn. 9, another turn. The fortress folds around you like paper folded into a secret shape. You try to memorize the pattern, but the corridors refuse to be simple. You realize Alamut does not only keep people out. It keeps information in. The air smells of lamp oil and stone dust. You hear quiet voices behind walls, then nothing. You see doors that open silently, then close without a slam. You expect a warlord to appear, a brute with jewels and blood under fingernails. But the men passing you carry books and ledgers as often as they carry blades. You see a youth with a writing board. You see an older man adjusting a shelf, fingers gentle as a scribe's. You feel your assumptions begin to crack. Someone mentions a name without ceremony, Hassanai Sabah. The name arrives not like thunder, but like punctuation. You do not see him yet. That absence becomes its own pressure. You understand, power here does not need to parade. It watches from behind the words people choose. A room opens. Not a dungeon. A study. You see rugs worn by feet, not for show. You see scrolls stacked with purpose. You see a simple cushion. A man sits there, thin, still, eyes sharp as a knife held steady. His beard is neat. His robe is plain. He looks like a scholar. But the silence around him feels armed. You feel your heartbeat banging against the dispatch. The seal might as well be a drum. You keep your hands away from your chest, away from the hidden letter, because touching it too often becomes a confession. The man, Hassan, speaks softly. The voice does not demand. It suggests. It frames. The words move like chess pieces. You see the trap. Every answer becomes a thread, and he knows how to pull threads until a whole garment unravels. He asks where the roads run safest. He asks what merchants say in Kazvin. He asks which mosques speak the loudest. He asks it all like curiosity. But curiosity here is a blade with no rust. You feel your mouth dry again. You choose every word like stepping over mines. You say little. You say less. You keep your eyes lowered but not submissive, just careful. No accusation comes. That is worse. Because accusation gives shape. This gives fog. You cannot fight fog with a sword. You leave that chamber without chains. You expect betrayal at the threshold, guards rushing, hands grabbing. But the corridor stays quiet. A young man walks beside you, polite, attentive. His gaze flicks to your belt, to your boots, to your throat. He watches the way you swallow. You realize he listens with his eyes. Alamut uses people the way a body uses nerves. The next days compress into a rhythm that feels designed to rewire you. Meals arrive at consistent times. Simple bread. Soup that smells of herbs. You feel hunger, but you feel something else too, control. Someone controls the hours. Someone controls who speaks to whom. Someone controls which rumors reach your ear. Therefore, reality here becomes curated. You search for a way to send warning outward. But every carrier looks too calm. Every messenger seems to know more than he should. You see a boy offering to deliver a note for you, so eager, so helpful. But the eagerness itself feels staged. If ink touches paper, the ink becomes evidence. If the boy runs, the boy becomes a weapon pointed back at you. Therefore, you keep your message in your head, trapped behind teeth. Then the story comes. Not spoken once, but repeated like prayer. Drugged killers. Hashish streams. Promised gardens. Men leaping into death for a false paradise. The tale slides through the corridors and into any visitor's mind because it is convenient. It makes enemies seem inhuman. It makes fear feel justified. You hear it from a cook. You hear it from a guard. You hear it from a man who claims to be a prisoner but walks too freely. But you look at the faces here and they look back with painful humanity. You see discipline, not delirium. You see patience, not frenzy. A youth sharpens a blade with careful strokes, counting silently. Another practices writing, repeating the same phrase until the hand no longer trembles. You feel a chill because madness is unpredictable, therefore containable. Discipline is predictable, therefore scalable. You begin to understand the fortress as an engine, not an army camp. An engine. It grinds information into leverage. It turns patience into terror. The network extends beyond these walls. You notice coded greetings, 2 fingers to the brow, then to the heart, but only when certain eyes watch. You notice marriages discussed like treaties. You notice village names mentioned with a pause, as if testing whether you react. You are not hunting an army. You are hunting a system. And a system survives losing battles because it feeds on attention. Fear is its currency. Every rumor spent buys another shadow. But survival demands leaving. The longer you remain, the more your own mind becomes a captured document. Therefore, you plan escape without writing anything down. You map guard rotations by listening to footsteps. Heavy step, light step, cough at the corner, lantern swing. You wait for the moment when certainty thins. You do not know if such a moment exists. But you feel time pressing because the sealed dispatch you carry is not only paper. It is consequence. One night, a door that usually stays barred stands unlatched. You see it and your stomach tightens. Is it mercy? Is it a trap? You do not know. Fog of war lives in doorways. You hear no alarm. You smell only lamp smoke. Therefore you move. You slide through like a thief stealing back his own life. You pass a courtyard where men stand in rows, silent, facing a speaker whose words cannot be heard from here. You want to stop, to listen, to steal meaning. But the risk is immediate. One turning head, one curious glance, and your body becomes the message. Therefore you keep moving. A low wall offers a drop into darkness. You feel stone under your palms, cold and gritty. You swing one leg over. For a breath you hang above nothing. Then you drop. Your feet hit hard. Pain shoots up your shins. You bite your tongue to keep from crying out. Blood fills your mouth, warm and metallic. You crawl into brush, breathing through clenched teeth. No shout follows. That is terrifying. Silence can mean ignorance. Silence can mean confidence. You run anyway. Down the mountain, stumbling, sliding, catching yourself on thorn. The dispatch stays pressed to your skin like a second heart. You do not know if Alamut lets you go or sends you as a story to infect the vizier's court. Imagine the road in AD 1092. You ride again, but the horse under you is not fresh. It is borrowed, half-starved, ribs visible under the hide. Every breath the animal takes sounds like cloth tearing. You feel its exhaustion through the saddle. Your thighs burn from gripping. Your fingers cramp from holding the reins too tight. But the road does not care. It demands speed. You keep the dispatch hidden under the tunic, tied with string so it does not slap and betray you. You touch it once, just once, to make sure it stays there. The wax seal presses against bruised skin like a brand. You taste dust. You taste fear again. Ahead, lights bloom, silk tents, torch flames, moving shadows. A traveling camp. High officials. Guards in polished helmets. The vizier's circle. This is the chance. You feel hope surge, then twist into dread, because hope attracts attention. You approach at a controlled pace, trying to look like a courier and not a hunted animal. You see sentries straighten. You hear the clink of spear butts on stone. A guard steps into your path. His beard is oiled. His eyes scan your face. He demands your business. The words sound normal, but you feel the underlying question, friend or threat. You answer with the proper formalities, voice steady by force, not by nature. The guard looks at your hands, checking for tremor. He looks at your mouth, checking for lies. He waves you through, but not before a second guard memorizes your face. Inside the camp, luxury tries to disguise vulnerability. Silk walls ripple. Lamps glow. You smell roasted meat and sweat. Perfume fights the stink of tired men and anxious horses. You hear laughter from one tent and harsh whispers from another. Power lives here, but it feels fragile, like glass held over stone. Fog of war hits like a fist. Scouts argue near a cooking fire. One claims an assassin in white hides among servants. Another claims the danger is not Alamut at all, but a rival faction using Alamut as scapegoat. Both stories feel plausible. Both stories can kill. You stand at the edge of the argument, listening, trying to decide what is real. You cannot. Therefore you focus on what matters. Reach the vizier. A line forms near the central tent. Petitioners. Clerks. Men with grievances wrapped in paper. Guards attempt order, but you see their uncertainty, the slight delay before each person passes, the way hands hover near sword hilts, but never commit. You feel the camp's tension like static on skin. Everyone senses something. No one knows where it hides. You push forward, but a clerk blocks you with a raised hand. His fingers are ink-stained, familiar as Alamut's clerks. He says the vizier is busy. He says wait. He says protocol. His voice is polite. That politeness feels like a blade's edge. You try to explain, urgent dispatch, sealed, for the vizier's eyes only. The clerk's eyes flick to your chest. For half a heartbeat, you feel seen too clearly. But the clerk steps aside anyway, reluctant, pressured by the sight of a seal, by the weight of procedure. Therefore you move closer. You see the central tent's entrance framed by guards. Their armor catches lamplight. Their faces sweat under helmets. They look exhausted from being vigilant. Vigilance is heavy. It makes men slow. A figure approaches the vizier with a petition. Just a man. Modest robe. Head lowered. Hands raised with paper like an offering. The guards hesitate. You feel the reason. The assassin's best weapon is not a dagger. It is permission. The petition is the key that opens the gate inside the camp. You smell lamp oil burning. You smell sweat souring under silk. You hear paper crackle as the petition is unfolded. That sound becomes enormous, like thunder in a narrow valley. Your mouth goes dry. You try to shout, warning, alarm, anything, but your throat tightens as if invisible fingers close around it. The word dies before it leaves you. The dagger flashes once. Small, clean, almost delicate. It moves like punctuation at the end of a sentence. The blade enters and withdraws. There is no theatrical struggle. The vizier folds like a tent rope cut clean, knees buckling, hands scrabbling at air, eyes wide with surprise more than pain. The silk around him swallows his fall. For a heartbeat, nobody moves. The mind refuses what the eyes confirm. Then everything moves at once, and nothing moves correctly. Guard sees the wrong man. A servant gets slammed into the dirt. A petitioner screams innocence until a fist silences him. Couriers run in circles, tripping over guy ropes. Someone shouts, Alamut, and the word detonates like fire in dry grass. The murder becomes more than murder. It becomes narrative. You feel it happening in real time, a single strike turning into doctrine. Fear spreads faster than orders. Men look at each other with suspicion, therefore cooperation collapses. A captain barks commands, but his voice cracks because he cannot command trust back into existence. You see hands shaking as swords come free. Steel scrapes. Horses rear. The camp becomes a storm of bodies and accusation. You push toward the fallen vizier, but guards block the way with crossed spears. You shout that a dispatch exists, proof, warning, patterns, but your voice is swallowed by chaos. A guard's elbow hits your chest hard and pain blooms where the dispatch hides. You stumble. The sealed letter stays unseen, but your gasp draws eyes. A man grabs your arm. His grip is crushing. He demands your name, your allegiance, your business near the vizier at the moment of death. You see suspicion in his pupils, wide and wet. You feel the temptation to reveal the dispatch instantly. But revealing it here makes it vulnerable to theft, to forgery, to destruction. You hesitate. That hesitation becomes guilt in the eyes of the terrified. Therefore you act. You wrench free by twisting into the grip's weak angle. You slam your shoulder into a passing body to create space. You dive behind a tent pole as arrows whistle from somewhere, wild shots, not aimed, just released because panic needs an outlet. The arrow thuds into it inches from your face. You smell fresh split timber. You feel your heart slam against ribs like it wants to escape too. Someone drags the assassin's corpse, maybe the real assassin, maybe the wrong man, through the dirt. The face is already swelling. Blood darkens the robe. Men spit on the body and call it monster. But you see only a human face turned into symbol. You feel sick because the story is already writing itself, and nobody asks whether the ink is true. You crawl toward the edge of the camp. You keep low. You hold your breath as a patrol runs past, blades out, eyes unfocused. You hear orders, lock down the roads, search every tent, interrogate every courier. The net tightens. If you stay, the dispatch gets found. If you run, you look guilty. Either way, guilt is assigned before evidence exists. Therefore, you slip into the dark beyond the torchlight. You find your horse where it is tied, trembling, sensing the fear in the air. You cut the tether with a knife you keep hidden for emergencies. The rope fibers snap with a soft sigh. You mount in one motion, ignoring the animal's protest. You kick hard. The horse lunges. You burst into the night, leaving the camp behind like a burning question. The road becomes a tunnel of uncertainty. You do not know who controls the next village. You do not know which innkeeper listens for Alamut's code. You do not know whether the assassins hunt you or whether Seljuk guards hunt you because the camp needs someone to blame. Fog of war becomes fog of identity. Are you courier, witness, suspect, or prey? You ride until your thighs go numb and your lower back screams. You stop at a stream and force the horse to drink. You splash water on your face. The water is cold enough to sting. You feel grit in your teeth. You feel your hands shaking again, not from cold, but from the aftershock of seeing power die in a single breath. At dawn, you reach a smaller post, less silk, more mud, more honest exhaustion. A commander steps out, bleary-eyed, hand on sword. He sees your travel-stained clothes, your hollow cheeks, your frantic eyes. He asks what disaster rides with you. You could tell him everything. But telling everything to the wrong man becomes a death sentence that travels faster than you. Therefore you tell only enough. An urgent dispatch, the vizier dead, the realm in danger. The commander's face tightens. He orders you inside. He orders guards posted. He orders scribes woken. But even as he moves, you see suspicion creeping in, because fear teaches men to suspect the messenger. You present the sealed dispatch at last, hands steady by sheer will. The wax seal looks suddenly small for the weight it carries. The commander breaks the seal. The crack of wax sounds like bone snapping. He reads quickly, eyes darting. You watch his pupils move across lines that mean little to you now, because the important lesson already burns in your nerves. The battlefield is not the camp. It is the story told about the camp. Outside, riders arrive with conflicting reports. Some say the assassin wears white. Some say the assassin wears a servant's apron. Some say there are many assassins. Some say it is all a lie invented to justify purges. The commander listens, jaw clenched. He wants certainty. He cannot have it. Therefore, he chooses what fear offers, control. He orders checkpoints. He orders interrogations. He orders loyalty tests. The net expands. You watch men who once trust each other now watch each other's hands. You see old comrades speak in guarded phrases, afraid of being overheard. You feel the empire's muscles tightening until movement becomes painful. This is the cost that arrives immediately, before any enemy army marches. You return to the roads not with victory but with patterns. You learn the rules of a new war. Not lines of soldiers clashing under banners, but whispers that move faster than horses. Not sieges of walls, but sieges of minds. Targeted violence that acts like a needle, piercing one artery and letting the body bleed out through panic. Secrecy as armor. Rumor as artillery. You think back to Alamut's corridors, how kindness tests, how silence cages, how stories spread like smoke because people want them to be true. You understand something ugly. Alamut wins even when it loses. If one assassin fails, the myth still succeeds. If one fortress falls, the network survives in safe houses, coded greetings, sympathetic villages, controlled marriages, invisible supply lines. The enemy does not need to conquer land if it conquers attention. Therefore, the great empire spends fortunes not on roads and harvests, but on paranoia, more guards, more informants, more purges. Each measure claims to increase safety, but each measure also poisons trust. Trust is the invisible bridge that lets an empire move. When trust collapses, every order arrives late, every report smells like deception, every loyal man fears being mistaken for a traitor. You see the faces of ordinary soldiers at checkpoints, eyes red from sleepless nights, fingers twitching on spear shafts. You see merchants forced to open crates again and again until their patience breaks. You see villagers learning to speak less because words become dangerous. The empire's strength turns inward, gnawing itself. The dust settles after the vizier's death, but your hands do not stop shaking. Not because of the dagger, but because of what follows the dagger. The story. You feel how fast a single spectacular act bends policy more than 1,000 skirmishes. You watch leaders choose spectacle in response, public executions, loud decrees, dramatic promises, because leaders fear looking weak more than they fear being wrong. Now the mirror rises, sharp and unforgiving. You see the blueprint echoing beyond the century. Deniable actors, psychological operations, weaponized myth. A single moment engineered to dominate conversation, to force reaction, to make caution feel like cowardice. You recognize how people crave simple monsters to explain complex threats. Therefore, the monster story spreads faster than the truth. You feel how easily permission becomes the most dangerous weapon. One stamped document, one trusted badge, one familiar uniform, and the gate opens from the inside. So do you see the pattern today? You see an act designed not only to kill, but to make everyone else misfire, seize the wrong man, pass the wrong law, hate the wrong neighbor, tighten the wrong net. You feel how fear turns into policy, and policy turns into habit, and habit turns into identity. The verdict is not comfort. The verdict is cost counted in trust, in sleep, in the quiet death of certainty. You survive the road, but the world you return to is different. Everyone checks shadows. Every message might already be rewritten. Every kindness might be a test. And the legacy question lingers where no search can answer it for you. Imagine standing at that gate again, dispatch pressed to your chest, hoofbeats behind, silence ahead. You feel fear offering two lies, obey it or deny it. But what choice builds a future when the real battlefield is the story, and the story wants to own you?